Semester number 2, lesson number 15. Our aim today is how were social norms beginning to change in the 1920s. And this is the time period that we call the Roaring Twenties, and you guys are going to see that over the next few days. All right. When we talk about social norms, we are talking about what is normal within society. All right. How are things changing in terms of how society is and how society changes. So we're going to start by talking about rural and urban differences. If you guys don't know these words by now, please write them down and ensure that you do know these words. Rural means, farmland, very spaced out houses, very few people living in there, not a very dense population. Whereas urban means city-like, all right? A lot of people living there, a high city population, all right? Between 1922 and 1929, migration to cities accelerated. Nearly 2 million left small towns and farms each year. And you have the rise of cities such as New York, which was already very popular, New York City. Chicago became even more populated, and Philadelphia. All right, they grew more crowded by the day. And small town migrants had to change their way of thinking and everyday life to adapt to the new urban environment. And one of the first things we're going to talk about is prohibition. And prohibition, as we learned about a few days ago, the 18th Amendment is going to ban the sale of alcohol. And really, during the entire 1920s, alcohol is banned. As a result of the 18th Amendment, speakeasies and bootleggers became a popular way in which Americans obtained their alcohol. These were basically underground bars, all right? And you had people creating moonshine. You had these bootleggers who were selling illegal alcohol, and you had these people that were souping up their cars to get alcohol from one place to another. They were known as rum runners, all right? Remember what we talked about in terms of the banning of alcohol. The idea was that if you banned alcohol, society would be better because of it, when in reality, the banning of alcohol caused actually more crime. And the reason the more crime was created was organized crime started to become a part of every city. And on the bottom right, you have a picture of Al Capone, probably the most notorious gangster of the time period. All right. Prohibition contributed to organized crime in nearly every major city. In Chicago, it was made up of gangster Al Capone. He was originally from Brooklyn. All right. Capone took control of Chicago liquor business by killing off his competition. He bootlegged whiskey from Canada. He operated illegal breweries, and he ran a network of over 10,000 speakeasies. All right. At his height, Al Capone was making a ridiculous amount of money we couldn't even think about today. All right. So not only was organized crime and the banning of alcohol big, but now you start to have a look at science and religion and how they differ. All right. The difference between those who believe in science over those who believe in fundamentalist religious beliefs, and science and religion clash, and really the battles are between fundamentalist groups, people who are very religious and believe their religion to a T, and secular thinkers, people that think outside of religion to find true knowledge. Fundamentalists believed that all knowledge can be found in the Bible. They rejected the theory of evolution. They did not believe that man came from ape. All right, and they gained followers in the 1920s. Began to call for a law banning the teaching of evolution in schools. So a lot of these religious fundamentalists, or especially from states on the Bible Belt like Tennessee, Mississippi, they began to call for a banning of teaching evolution in the schools. All right, and there's no trial that shows that more than the Scopes trial. The Scopes trial, which began in March of 1924, Tennessee passed in 1924 in March, Tennessee became the first nation to pass a law banning the teaching of evolution in the schools. And John Scopes, who was a biology teacher, he believed in evolution. He wanted to challenge the law, so he started teaching it in his classroom. All right. The Scopes trial was a fight over evolution and the role of science and religion in public schools and in American society. It really wasn't about John Scopes as it was about the idea. All right. It was religion versus science. All right. Old school thinking versus new school thinking. And although it was in a small courtroom in Tennessee, you know, everybody in America wanted to know what was going to be the outcome of this trial. And you had two very famous lawyers, William Jennings Bryan and Clarence Darrow, fighting it out. You know, Darrow was representing Scopes, all right, and William Jennings Bryan, a very old school guy, actually ran for president once. He was representing the Tennessee school districts, and he was fighting to say that they should not be allowed to teach evolution, while Darrow obviously was saying, you know, people have the right to hear all of the different options. Your check for understanding today. During the 1920s, controversies concerning the Scopes trial, national prohibition, and the clash over evolution were all signs of disagreement over A, the return to normalcy, B, traditional values and changing lifestyles, C, causes of the Great Depression, or D, benefits of new technology. And we will go over this in more detail tomorrow in class, and you will give me the correct answer. Have a good night.